Created in 1966 by comic legends Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, the Black Panther wasn't just another superhero. He was a warrior, a scientist, a ruler of the most advanced nation on Earth. Today, I'm painting my tribute to one of the most important characters in comic book history. Here's the legacy of a king, the Black Panther. Welcome and welcome back, everyone. This is Art of the Round Table. My name is Mello, and I am really excited to get into this one. I haven't done a narrative video in several months now. I've been focusing more on live streams, painting and drawing with you in real time, and honestly, it's been an amazing experience, so I want to thank you sincerely for that. And speaking of live streams, if you'd like to see the full drawing, inking, and painting process of this Black Panther piece, in real time, completely unedited, be sure to check out my live stream playlist here on my channel. But for now, the tools are going to be on the screen, and we're going to get right to it. Let's begin. The drawing. Using a blue Prismacolor pencil, I start by measuring and laying in the basic composition. There's something very tricky about trying to portray a kingly figure who is also a predatory jungle cat. I wanted him to feel ready to pounce, regal, sleek, but also cunning. So naturally, I went with a crouched cat-like pose. Duh! But that dual nature, the king and the predator, is exactly what makes this character so compelling. Because the Black Panther isn't just a superhero, he's a monarch, he's a warrior, and the protector of an entire nation. And to understand why that matters, we have to go back a bit to where he first appeared. Black Panther first appeared in 1966 in the pages of Fantastic Four, issue number 52. He was created by two giants of the comic book industry, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. At the time, superhero comics were already booming, but something was missing: representation. And then, quietly, without fanfare, a new hero stepped onto the page. Not a sidekick, not a stereotype, but a king. The Black Panther, a ruler of the hidden African nation of Wakanda. And from the very beginning, the character broke expectations. In the 1960s, during one of the most turbulent periods of the civil rights era in the United States, Marvel Comics introduced a character from a nation that had never been conquered, never been colonized, and was more advanced than the rest of the world. Just think about that for a moment. That idea alone was revolutionary. And Jack Kirby designed Wakanda with a mix of futuristic technology and cultural inspiration. It wasn't just a backdrop. It was a statement. And now it's time to make a statement on the page. By this point, the drawing is fully realized, the structure's there, the pose is locked in, and the character is finally beginning to emerge. Even here, I'm still leaning on a bit of old school techniques also. I'm using something as simple as a cotton swab, as I've done before, to soften and control some of the shading. But of course, this is only the beginning. If I want this to become an iconic image of an iconic character, the next step is commitment. Now the goal is to push the shadows, deep, dramatic shadows, the kind that give the character weight and presence. But there's a trick to it. You want him living in the darkness without losing him in it. So everything now depends on lighting, on form, on where the eye is allowed to travel. So out comes my Pentel brushes and my India ink. With ink, the drawing begins to change. Up until now, everything has been smooth pencil lines, loose shading, and possibilities. But ink, like I mentioned, is commitment. Every stroke pushes the image closer to its final form. And with a character like Black Panther, the shadows are everything. Because even when most of the figure lives in darkness, it's the light that ultimately reveals the hero. And in many ways, that mirrors the character himself. T'Challa wasn't just another superhero. He was something far more interesting. He was a king, a scientist, a warrior trained from birth. He wasn't defined by tragedy like most heroes, or as it was portrayed in his theatrical introduction. Instead, he carried the weight of leadership. Protecting Wakanda meant protecting a secret, and protecting that secret meant protecting his people. I keep that in mind as I move around the figure. There are little flourishes and subtle feathering, small decisions I'm making to emphasize the physique and the mask. I'm relying a lot on what's hidden to tell the story, so I can't be careless. A lot can get lost very quickly with ink, but that doesn't mean I can't be experimental. I know I'll be coming back into this with gouache later, and the opaque nature of that medium gives me a bit of courage. So in a way, this is where I get to explore a little, push things, take a few risks, and honestly, I was having a lot of fun here. And a big part of that is because this was done during a live stream. There's something about working in real time, talking, interacting, and sharing the process as it unfolds. It takes the pressure off. It allows for a kind of free thinking that's hard to replicate when you're working in isolation. So if you were there for that stream, thank you. And if you're watching this now after the fact, just know that this piece was built in that spirit. Loose, focused, and genuinely enjoyed. Over the years, Black Panther became one of Marvel's most respected characters. He fought alongside the Avengers. He stood shoulder to shoulder with heroes like Captain America and Iron Man. But he always remained something unique. Because while many heroes protect cities, Black Panther was protecting a nation. And that responsibility, that sense of duty, is what gives this character his presence. It's also what I'm trying to capture here in the ink. Not just in the costume, not just in the mask, but the weight of the crown. Nearly 70% of the character is being consumed either in shadow or in black ink. But that's intentional, because what I leave untouched, the spaces where the light remains, those are the shapes that will define this character. And now, after all the structure, after all the shadows have been set, it's finally time to bring out the paints. With the inks complete, now it's time to bring the piece to life. I'm using gouache, and gouache has a very unique quality to it. It allows you to move between transparency and opacity, to build and to correct, and to push light back into the image. And that's exactly what this stage is about. After pushing the character deep into shadow, now I have to carefully bring him back to the forefront. As I begin to build up the color, I wanted to be very intentional with the palette, not just in terms of lighting, but in meaning. So I started weaving in colors inspired by the African flag. Deep greens in the background, suggesting life, growth, and grounding. Subtle reds, not overpowering but present, carrying a sense of strength and sacrifice. Small hints of yellow catching the light, giving the figure quite sense of royalty. And of course, the black remains dominant. And you'll start to see it here when I start painting on the mask. Small highlights beginning to define structure, the planes of the face, the edges of the eyes, the subtle contours of the suit and his muscles. And just like the inking stage, what I choose to reveal matters just as much as what I leave behind. All of those colors working together not loudly but deliberately, just like the character. The power isn't always in what's obvious, sometimes it's in what's felt. For decades, Black Panther held a powerful place in comic book history. But in 2018, something shifted. The world was introduced to the Black Panther and the nation of Wakanda on a global stage. And what people saw wasn't just a superhero story, they saw a vision, a nation untouched by colonization, a culture rich with tradition and innovation, a king who led not just with strength, but with intelligence and responsibility. And that resonated far beyond comics. With the tragic loss of Chadwick Boseman and its place in cultural and cinematic history, Wakanda Forever became more than just a catchphrase or a powerful call to arms. It became a tribute, adding to the already storied history of the character, but also to a talented young man who embodied it so perfectly. If you've been enjoying this process so far, if this kind of storytelling and painting resonates with you, consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and dropping a comment below. It helps the channel grow, and I always enjoy hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to support me in what I do here, whether it's helping keep the paints flowing or just being part of the journey, you can find me over on Instagram, where I share more artwork and updates. I also have a Ko-fi page if you'd like to leave a tip or support directly, and an Etsy shop where prints and original artwork are available. All the links and information are listed in the description box below. Every painting has a moment where it stops being about the process and it starts becoming something else. For me, this is that moment when the lines, the shadows, the layers of paint all come together into something complete. Black Panther has stood the test of time, evolving, inspiring, and continuing to resonate with new generations. But beyond the history, beyond the films, beyond the legacy, there's something simpler at the core of it. A powerful idea that a hero can be more than just strength. He can be thoughtful, he can be responsible, he can lead. And as an artist, we're always searching for ways to capture that in our work, not just how something looks, but what it means. This piece pushed me in that direction, to slow down, to be intentional, to trust the shadows, and to let the light do the work. And in the end, a king is revealed. Here he is, the Black Panther. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here and for spending your time with me. It's Arts of the Round Table. My name is Mello. Until next time, God bless you. I love you. Mean it. And as always, I'll draw you later. Bye-bye.